congregation, do stop by the welcome table with the blue tablecloth and chat with our membership engagement coordinator, John Wright. You can fill out a paper or online quote-unquote green sheet there, and also fill out a declaration of membership if this is the week you want to join the congregation. Please stay, everybody, for second Sunday lunch, served in the fireside room and enjoyed, well, probably on the patio with this gorgeous weather today. If you're chilly, then in here, you can do that. And before that, there are 2 roads to goodies today. One, sorry adults, this one's for the kids, the Easter egg hunt. Everybody can watch, and it is so much fun. But the collecting of the eggs, you'll just have to be very nice to a child to see if they'll give you any. But for adults who, can't stomach being that nice to a child, stop by the table right here. This one has a red tablecloth. Especially if you have not yet given to the 75th Anniversary Capital Campaign and this year's annual budget. Both are winding down, and the building and budget decisions we make in the next 2 weeks will be based on the amount pledged. But also, I have it from a person who knows that there is chocolate to be had at that table. And now, let us begin our service.
If you have a chalice there with you at home, please light it along with me. Our words today come from Yvonne Upper. Joy to the world. Life calls to life. Arise, awake. Fear no more the silence of the tomb, for the lives of humanity are strung like pearls on the thread of the Spirit, and the pearls shine in the darkness of the deep. Life arises, life anew, life triumphant, spirit like a flame catching on the wick of flesh.
There we go. With our centering words each week, we draw on the many sources of our living tradition. Today's words are from the U.S. American poet E.E. Cummings.
I thank you, God, for this amazing day.
For the leaping greenly spirits of trees.
And a blue true dream of sky.
And for everything which is natural.
Which is infinite.
Which is yes. I who have died am alive again today.
And this is the sun's birthday. This is the birthday of life and of love and of wings.
And of the gay, great, happening, illimitably earth.
How should tasting,
touching,
seeing,
hearing,
breathing,
any lifted from the no of all nothing, human merely being,
doubt unimaginable,
you.
Now the ears of my ears awake, and
now the eyes of my eyes are opened. As we follow the sound of the bell into silence, we allow ourselves to arrive here fully. Today, our time of sharing, caring, and pastoral prayer will be silent. So if you did send something to us at joyconcern@uucpa.org this week, I will share it next week. Sorry that you won't be hearing it today. But we will take this time to allow names to come to our awareness, names that evoke joys or sorrows. And if you are on Zoom and wish to share the joy or sorrow, please post it in the Zoom chat for us all to see. If you want to silently light a candle, this is a good time to do that also. As the names come into our hearts and onto our screens, will you join me in a few moments of silent prayer or meditation? Blessed be. Now please join in singing Now Let Us Sing. The words are in your online order of service and on screen, and the music is in the gray hymnal, number 368. Please rise in body or spirit.
goodness. So, before I begin with the Easter story, I'd like to invite all my friends who are young or young at heart, if they want to join up on the quilt at the front, you're welcome to sit here. We also have sermon bingo and coloring pages in the back. We have a Goopa here too. So if you guys want to follow along with Reverend Amy's sermon and see if you can get a bingo. So with that, we're going to talk about the story of today, the story of Easter. Now, the story of Easter concerns Jesus, and Jesus was a teacher a long time ago who preached God's love. And Jesus taught that we should care for the poor and forgive people that hurt us. In his lifetime, Jesus influenced many people to love one another as they loved God. 12 of those people were called the disciples of Jesus. They traveled with Jesus and listened to him preach day after day. Now, in Jesus' time, the Roman leaders and the Jewish leaders, well, they didn't like him. They were afraid that he would lead a rebellion and upset the things the way they were. As Jesus became more and more popular, the leaders planned to kill him. One of Jesus' disciples, named Judas, betrayed Jesus and helped their leaders with the plan. So, the night before Jesus died, he was celebrating the Jewish holiday of Passover. He was celebrated at a Seder with 12 disciples. The next day, Jesus was arrested, and then he was killed. What happened after is what we know today as Christianity. Many Christians believe that after Jesus was killed, he rose from the dead and went to heaven. Many Unitarian Universalists, yeah?
How did he die?
How did he die? He was,
A lot of people don't.
what?
He was put on.
Yeah, he was put on a cross.
He was put on the cross, hands of people nailed to it, and he died of dehydration and the lack of food.
Yeah, it's a terrible way to die, huh? Yeah. All right. So, many of us Unitarian Universalists, we see the story differently than Christians do. Many years ago, there was a religious educator named Sophia Faz, and she explains Jesus' story in a UU way. Explains what happened after Jesus died. So this is how she put it. So let's listen to her story. The people who followed Jesus were brokenhearted after he died. They struggled to understand why God had allowed their teacher to be killed. Surely someone so connected to God, so overflowing with goodness, did not deserve the punishment that he got. And what Alex said, it was quite terrible. As all these people gathered day after day in each other's homes, they began to tell each other, recall the wonderful experiences that they had with Jesus. They told of times when Jesus was wise, when Jesus was kind. The very tone of his voice and the look on his face would come back to him so vividly that sometimes it felt like Jesus was right in the room with them again. And some of these people, they had very vivid dreams in which Jesus seemed so real that the dreamers couldn't tell whether they were asleep or awake when they saw him. Some declared positively that they had seen Jesus again. He had talked to them. The rumor spread that Jesus had actually come out of his coffin, that 2 of his disciples had seen him, and that several women talked to him. And they would only see him for a few moments, and then he would mysteriously disappear. Finally, several of them dreamt that they saw Jesus rise up from the earth, higher and higher and higher, until he disappeared up into the sky. They believed that he had gone to heaven to be with God. And then, after that strange dream, all their dreams of seeing him and talking with him stopped. Now, people who had these experiences believed that Jesus was different from other people. Some believed that Jesus was so holy and great that he would come back to earth and save the world. And that's one reason why Christians call him the Savior. Now, the years went by, and the people who knew Jesus died. Their children and their children's children also died. And Jesus did not come back. It had been over 2,000 years, and Jesus still had not come back. There are those who still hope that he will come back to life again. Others, including Unitarian Universalists, believe that Jesus will never again live on earth. His body isn't coming back, but his spirit never needs to die. His spirit is in his words, his deeds, which give us wisdom today. For example, when Jesus was alive, he taught the golden rule. What's the golden rule? Does anybody know? Treat others the way they've been treated with an addendum. Exactly. Treat others the way you want to be treated, right? And so Jesus, he gave this big sermon, just like this, with all the kids gathered around, all the people. He gave the Sermon on the Mount, and he said that people who are poor, who are hurt, who are struggling, who are having a hard time, are loved by God, and therefore we must love them too. So when somebody's physical body dies, the people all around them who have loved and valued them will keep their memory alive, just like the followers of Jesus have remembered his teachings and his spirit long after death. All right, thank you for listening to my story today. Oh yeah, so it's gonna be next for Reverend Amy.
You can stay up there. But you know, we haven't gotten to the sermon yet, so that's sermon bingo. You gotta actually hear the words when I give a homily. This isn't it either. How else am I supposed to make sure you all pay attention? I know, I can tell you are. But right now we're doing the new member welcome. So everybody is going to join in the litany. We are welcoming new members to UUCPA, and this is a solemn and happy occasion when people make that decision, that commitment to become members. So new members, will you come up if you are in the main hall, and this is not the kind of thing that makes you break out in hives. You know, it's just like we wanted to have the bunnies up here during the service, and the bunnies really hate that. So, you know, we only want to do what actually makes you happy. But please do come on. I know. Well, you got to see them one-on-one. New members, come on up. If you're on Zoom, please request to be unmuted so that the person running that will know you're a new member, and they need to unmute you because you're going to have a moment when you speak. And also, as we emerge from the confusion of the pandemic, we may have gotten some things mixed up. So if your name does not appear here, but you have joined UUCPA and you have not yet been a part of one of these ceremonies, come on up. Please be a part of it now, whether in the main hall or online. So here we are, everyone, to join me, Board President Brooke Bashara. Hey, Brooke. And Membership and Growth Chair Christy Iverson, who's online, and Membership and Engagement Coordinator John Wright, in welcoming our newest members. I'm good. It's your turn now. Kevin's on it. There we go. One more. There we go. And I've got it here too.
Testing.
You got it.
Let us honor their decision to join our congregation, where we gather our different paths entwined to deepen our spiritual lives, by asking how they will carry out this joyful commitment.
Hold on a moment. Kevin, can you get rid of the captioning? Yay! There we go. Now we can see the whole screen. New members? You join in our learning from each other. How will you join tending to our world? We will be guided by the inspiration we find here in our decisions as citizens, neighbors, family, workers, friends, and members of the intergenerational Congregation, will you be their partners in all these promises? It's Christy. Oh, no? Oh, look at that, sorry.
Will you extend a warm welcome to each of our new members beginning now, remembering when you too were a newcomer here?
Sorry, no, it's Christy.
To our congregation's history. As you sign the book and receive a token of our welcome. If you are here with me online, please write, "I sign," and the name you wish to sign in Zoom chat, and we will send you.
Christy, it's going to be a minute for everybody to sign, and that was really hard to hear for those of us here. So will you just say it all again?
Okay, and I can't see what you're doing here, and I'm getting an echo, so,
We can hear you.
okay. This book contains names of many of the people you see around here. We are honored to add yours to the congregation's history as you sign the book and receive a token of our welcome. If you are here with me online, please write "I sign" and your name if you wish to sign in the Zoom chat, and we will send you your gift.
Welcome, Jennifer. Oop, don't want to get in anybody's way. Go ahead. Welcome. And Arhan and Autry. Get one of those. I have enough of these. There's so many of us. I hope I have enough. From your congregation, a gift certificate to the UUCPA Big Bookstore, $15 toward a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. With gratitude that we are on the search together. You have to wait till you're older to sign, but I'm going to give you one of these, though.
Thank you.
Welcome, Paul and Tracy and Smith and Beatrix.
Oh, thank you.
You get this for too. I get my hug even before I give you your gift. Here you go, Brooke. Welcome, Gloria. Welcome, Bill.
Thank you.
Yay, all these new members.
Yay!
So excited. Yay! We're just so delighted to have you with us. And we want to share with you our covenant of right relations. We adopted this covenant to inspire and guide our interactions with one another. So we're going to speak this intention together. Will you, the members of the congregation, please rise and embody your spirit? And if you're not yet a member but wish to join in, we warmly welcome you as well. Next slide.
We come
Together to create a community committed to a free, open, and loving search for spiritual meaning. Our community calls on each of us to extend compassion and kindness, to act from courage rather than fear, to treat one another with respect, and to honor each other's contributions. We commit to listen to one another, to acknowledge and address disagreements, and to express our concerns directly with those involved. We embrace diversity, embrace our differences that enrich us. We embrace democracy, for it allows our voices to be heard. We embrace forgiveness, for it opens us to hope. And we embrace this life, for it is what we have together. We accept responsibility for making our community
everything we want it to be.
Thank you for the ways you've already enriched the life of this congregation. We are overjoyed to be on this journey with you.
Welcome! Woohoo! Thank you all. You can sit down. You can sit down, or you can be, wallpaper for, the next bit of the service, but you'll probably be more comfortable sitting. So glad to have you all. And everybody, particularly encourage you, if any new folks are unknown to you, grab them at Second Sunday lunch and get to know them better. So kids, this is still not my homily. This is a little testimony because as several people have given their testimonies about what's important to them at UUCPA and why they give to this congregation, I said, hey, can I give one this week? And the stewardship committee looked a little nervous, but said, sure. So, even though we're talking about our budget and our buildings, what I think about when I think about how do I want to and why do I want to support this congregation with my own financial resources is less buildings and budgets and more conversations and relationships and moments. So I want to share just a few of them with you. I'm thinking of somebody in the Building Your Own Theology class I led many years ago now, who took the call to ethical action that we talked about in the class so seriously that he adopted a cause that was incredibly important to him and began leading the wider community, including UUCPA, in working on this issue. I think of so many people at adult religious education gatherings, such as the ones that have been created to share our spiritual paths, who have talked with me about how affirmed they feel in their own spiritual paths and spiritual practices by hearing about those of others, even when those were very different. I think about a class like that in which we were searching for our own gifts, and it made a big shift for me when I realized that one of the things that I wanted to commit to was incorporating more art into my life. That was almost 20 years ago, and thanks to that group, I have done that. I'm thinking of the person who said at, I think it was a big meeting of the congregation, that our covenant, such as the one that we just read together, guided her whenever she had a concern with somebody, whenever she felt like a conflict or a misunderstanding, that it reminded her, whether they were in this congregation or beyond, to speak directly with the people involved and how big a difference that had made to her relationships. I'm thinking about the person who said that a service inspired him to choose his career path with attention to meaning and morality when he was still starting out. I'm thinking of the young person who, I think it was during one of these testimonies, who shared that, in her life, in school and the world outside at UUCPA, she was a little weird. She was considered kind of a weird person. And she felt that it was so important that at UUCPA she had a community that completely embraced her. However weird she was, she belonged here. These are the things that I think about, that I thought about when I sat down and I thought, what am I going to give to the annual fund this year? What am I going to give over the next 3 years to our 75th anniversary capital campaign? I thought, these are the moments, these are the relationships, these are the changes, these are the commitments that are so important. I cannot imagine our world without them. And that helped me decide how much to give to UUCPA. So I hope you'll be thinking as well about what's important to you when you go by to talk to Elsa, pick up your chocolate, see how the campaign is going, which is, hey, do we have our ice cream cone here? Oh, sorry, I've got to ask Richard to bring it up. Yeah, that's really fair. Let me get it, Richard. Oh, look at you move. He's getting faster. This is where we are at. Life is sweet at 100%. Here's our goal. We are at 87.9% to our annual fund goal. Okay, getting really close. Really, really close. Yes, cheer. Cheer! And now I want you to cheer for how I want you to cheer the way you're going to cheer when we get to our annual meeting and we have 100% of that so we can fund our entire planned budget. Yes! That feels so much better. Let's do it. We're almost there. And here is our annual, our capital campaign, for which our goal is 2.8 million, and now we have some new leaves, and we are up to 2.4 million. Okay? Almost there. Again, we're going to be making decisions really soon, and we want to make decisions about how we're going to spend 2.8 million and not any less. So thank you for helping for 20 years make all these important things happen for me. Let us now join in singing Lo, the Earth Awakes Again. The words are in your online order of service, on screen. The music, if you like to see the music, is in the gray hymnal, number 61. Please rise. blah, blah, blah. Here is a kind of story that we Unitarian Universalists often tell at Easter time. There was a tree that was thriving and growing. Blossoms and tiny, damp leaflets popped out over all its branches. New twigs grew. The leaflets got bigger and darker and spread into a great green tent over everything. And many creatures lived in the shelter of the thriving, healthy tree. A woodpecker found good things to eat in its bark. A colony of wasps built a beautiful nest of paper high up in its branches, and so did birds. And a squirrel family curled up in a hollow of its trunk. Then the weather changed, the days shortened, and something dramatic happened to the tree. You all know what it was. Its leaves went from green to yellow. They stopped making food for the tree to live on, and then they fell right off their twigs. They rotted on the ground, and the branches of the tree were left gray and brown and bare. The protective tent was gone. It looked as if the tree was surely dying. For many months, there were only these bare branches. The bird's nest had little shelter. The birds went far away to where trees were still lush and green. Everything around the tree got very quiet. There was little life there to see. And then one day, the spring winds began to blow, and the air around the tree grew warm, and the soil that had frozen began to thaw, and the tree that had appeared lifeless put forth tiny little light green buds, almost too small to see. Life was moving in the tree and around the tree, and all the creatures came back to the tree, and it was once again a center of new life. We all know this story. Why do we tell it at Easter? Is the death and resurrection of Jesus like the death and resurrection of the tree and all the creatures it shelters? What about our own death and whatever we hope might happen afterwards? Well, in some ways, the human story is like the tree, and in some ways it's not. Some say the tree story is really different because the tree wasn't really dead. Whereas when Jesus was crucified, as you said, a terrible way to die, he really died. So is it really possible for someone to return to life after that? And more to the point, can we, people whose lives have a limit, really take hope from these stories of annual cycles? I think people told the story of Jesus' resurrection, and I think it has stuck for so many centuries because death makes us so sad, and we wish so desperately for it not to be permanent. We would like to believe that when people die, it's not forever, that we only have to say goodbye to them for a while, as if those we love are just going on a long voyage when they die. And we will be reunited with them eventually, right? It will take years maybe, but it won't be forever. And that would make all of that loss so much easier to bear. It would be very comforting to believe that death was just a temporary separation. Now, we Unitarian Universalists can believe lots of different things and still all belong here. So maybe you do believe that death is just a temporary separation. Some among us do. And that's interesting, and I would love to hear more about how this belief affects your life. The tree story must make a lot of sense to you. If you don't believe that, if you're pretty sure that when someone dies, it isn't like going quiet for the winter, it's permanent, then let's think a little bit more about what that resurrection might mean. What kind of resurrection, what kind of return to life can you count on? Here's something I find helpful. To hold the people we have loved in our hearts and try to live in such a way that the best things about them are reborn again and again in us. Bear Capron, a member of UUCPA to whom Karen dedicated the prelude today, showed many of us a good way to live, full of love and gentleness, courage and playfulness. He died of cancer, and I remember one time a year or two before his death, when he said that the image of a battle didn't work for him. As when people say someone is fighting cancer, that word just didn't really help him. He was a peaceful person. And he said he didn't want to envision himself being at war, even with cancer. Instead, he tried to call on the power of love and the things that made him want to live, to give him strength when he was so sick. Now Bear is no longer alive, and that is just sad and hard, no matter what. But there's also this. When we are offered the chance to think of ourselves as people who are fighting, for example, fighting injustice, maybe the memory of Bear will rekindle a different intention in us. The desire to move toward, to embrace something we love, such as a better, kinder world. That would make him live again in an important way. I've used Bear as an example because we just held his memorial service, and he's very much in my mind. But this same thing goes for anybody in this community we have lost. We can do this with anyone we have loved and lost. So that is one kind of resurrection that we can count on. There's something about the people we have known that is like the tree in winter. It's not really dead and gone. It still lives in us. It still lives in the world. I think another reason the Easter story is meaningful is that we experience all kinds of deaths besides the death of the body. We have dreams that don't come true. We have hopes that aren't realized, and those each feel like a death. We have friendships and other relationships that come to an end. They die. And losses like having to move away from a school or a friend or a congregation, losing a job, losing a home. We can be deeply disappointed by people or by ourselves. And all of these are a kind of death. And it's good to mourn them as we mourn any loss. It's also good to think of these the way we think of the cycles of nature. They might be only apparent deaths, only temporary deaths, like the gray and leafless tree. There might be something deep within these experiences that will emerge as life in another time. Maybe, for example, not getting accepted into the college that you want, which is something that needs to be grieved. It's a kind of death. It's a loss. But maybe it will lead your life onto another track that brings you great happiness and fulfillment, a track that you never would have taken if not for that disappointing event, that death of a dream. The sorrow is still real, and the death of that dream also might be the birth of a new one. Maybe the end of a relationship and all the regret and sorrow that it brings will cause you to learn something important about other people and yourself. And as a result, you'll be a wiser person, more ready for other new, deep friendships. Our lives are sprinkled with deaths, and each one brings a possibility of rebirth. So I will close with thanks to Brian Weller, who always brings such wonderful poems to my attention, and with a part of a poem by Ada Limon. She says that more than the flowers on the trees, it's the greening that really gets to her. When all the shock of white and taffy, the world's baubles and trinkets leave the pavement strewn with the confetti of aftermath, the leaves come. Patient, plodding, a green skin growing over whatever winter did to us, a return to the strange idea of continuous living despite the mess of us, the hurt, the empty. Fine then, I'll take it, the tree seems to say, a new slick leaf unfurling like a fist to an open palm. I'll take it all. Blessed be. You want the donuts?
Amy, I have to say, the audience up in the front is very disappointed that Baby Yoda was not mentioned in the sermon. Oh, I just said it, so it has been mentioned now, even though it's not the sermon. Still counts.
Next year's sermon, I'll try to include Baby.
All right, so I have a question. Did anybody have a certain rabbit visit you last night? Did anybody have an Easter bunny? Yeah, Sophia, Alex. Yeah. So this time of year, there's lots of candy, right? There's lots of candy, and there's lots of bunnies. I just have a question. What is up with the bunnies? Why are we talking about a zombie guy's wake and we're talking about bunnies and chocolate?
Why is it bunnies and chickens?
Oh, why? Why chickens? Why? Yes.
Bunnies are cute and chocolate is yummy.
Bunnies are cute and chocolate is yummy. So save that, write that down. That's important.
Chickens are also cute.
So I'm going to tell you a little bit about why we talk about bunnies and peeps and all these strange things, Eloise, all these strange things. So, what's up with this? Why do we have all these things amidst, all these bright, colorful things amidst, topics of death and dying and despair? So, first of all, the death and the resurrection of Christ, what we just talked about, was celebrated by the earliest Christians around the time of Passover, which happened this week as well. So the holy season, the season of Easter, it kind of fell in this area by chance on spring. And also it kind of makes sense because psychologically, going through winter is kind of hard sometimes. So spring has always been a really big deal, especially for fertility deities. Now, fertility deities are making sure that there's many, whether that be bunnies or humans, or flowers that are blooming and procreating. So there's a meme that's going around that says Easter comes from the Mesopotamian goddess Ishtar, which is kind of like, I can see the weird spelling, but that's not actually true. Though Ishtar was connected to death and rebirth as well as love and fertility, which is a big Easter thing, there's no evidence that Ishtar and Easter are related. So if it doesn't come from Mesopotamia, where does it come from? There's some people who claim that there was an Anglo-Saxon goddess named Ostero, but it's hard to find a lot of evidence for her. But there are evidence of localized fertility goddess in that region. And these goddesses were often represented by something that is very cute, something that is very funny, bunny. Yeah. So they were represented by bunnies because bunnies multiply very, very well. So that's a good motif for spring. Now, so like with many of our holidays, the pagan mixed with the Christianity and the local traditions, and that percolated and made this magical melting pot of Easter that we know today. So the writer Annie Tarot wrote the best description about the zillions of exuberant and enlightening ways that we humans express Easter. Here's the thing. Our Western Easter traditions incorporate a lot of elements from a bunch of different religious backgrounds. You can't just say that. Alex, can you sit up? You can't just really say that it's about resurrection, or it's about spring, or it's about fertility or love. You can't pick one out of the tapestry and say, hey, now this particular thing, this is what it's all about. It doesn't work that way, right? Few things do in life. Well, listen, yeah. So we celebrate with bunnies and chocolate because history, they have woven together in history. And so we continue to make new traditions together. Like Jesus and like springtime, like Friends, we do things together because it's more fun and they give us hope and they offer us sustaining power to get through life and get through chocolate. Who doesn't like a little bit of chocolate when times are hard, right?
I like chocolate and tacos.
Oh, chocolate and tacos. So now that the bingo is complete, I hope that all of you with children or young people would join me in the playground after the service for our Easter egg hunt.
Say hill. We need to say hill.
What the hell? So with that, the bingo is complete, Hill. All right. Thank you.
I just said bingo. I already got it done.
And this is a question, the connection between the bunny part and chocolate part and Jesus is a question that my daughter asked me years ago. So I said to Kat, could you explain that to everybody, please? And now we know. Oh, we are so fortunate to create this community together, where we celebrate, where we're together when we do go through hard times, and where we have joys like gathering eggs and visiting real live bunnies who live here on this campus. The order of service gives a QR code and a link, and also information on using text to give via Give Lively or you can put a check or cash in the collection box so that with gratitude we can receive our offering and with gratitude give it. Thank you. Will you please join in singing O Life That Maketh All Things New? The words are in your online order of service and on screen, and the music is in the gray hymnal. Please stretch your legs and your lungs if you're comfortable standing. everyone, however you are here, whether online or here in the main hall, will you please rise as you're able, take hands as you're comfortable, or take hands in some symbolic way that works for you and the person next to you as we say the words of our benediction. Go out into the world in peace. Be of good courage. Hold fast to what is good. Return on evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the suffering. Rejoice in beauty. Speak love with word and deed. Honor all beings. I have a cat either